Hello, you wonderfully amazing woman. Welcome to Language That Minimizes. In this lesson, we are going to talk about words, statements, and phrases that specifically we as women, tend to use in the workplace and how it minimizes our impact. So let's get started. All right. So, language that minimizes, when we use words like I just, for example, or statements or phrases that minimize your perspective or your contribution, what it says or what it looks like to others is that you are uncertain about your right and your ability to take up space, including to hold that space, your right to occupy it, and to inhabit it fully, right? So you're telling other people, in a sense, how to treat you. Okay? And so that gives them the perception that you are uncertain, you're hesitant, which to people and especially to men says that you lack confidence or an inability to project a strong presence. And this becomes important when we want to share our opinions, right? When we want to speak up and give our ideas in meetings. If you are uncertain, if you are even meek or timid about it, it says to them that your voice does not deserve to be heard. And I'm not saying that that is right or wrong, right? I think it's a part of just some of the things in terms of the way that we have all been groomed culturally, right? So women in the workplace hasn't been taking place that long. And so how men and women see things in and of itself are different. So these are some things I want you to be aware of. And I want to provide examples here in a second on, words or statements that we tend to use other than the word sorry, because I think that's the one that's talked about the most, but just how it comes across and what you're really saying to other people so that you can see it from a different lens. Okay. So on top of that, we also have cultural norms, right? And so in many cultures, women are groomed to either be obedient, if you will, to men, to be subservient to men. And while it's not said that we are less than, if we think about the history, especially of this country, being in America, right? And when women got the right to manage their own money or to vote, right? All of those things took place after men, and in particular white men, right? And then you add on that being a woman of color, those rights came even later, right? So cultural norms kind of socialize this idea both to men and to women. And that includes controlling or dictating what you say, how you say it, when you say it, or even the body language that you use, whether or not you make eye contact when you speak. Now, it's almost a double-edged sword. If you are soft-spoken about it, if you don't make eye contact, it's held against you. You're not seen as a confident woman. If you make eye contact, if you have a presence, then you are thought of as the B word or too assertive, right? So what I want to encourage you to do is wherever you fall in that kind of both ends of the spectrum, to be yourself, right? If you're going to be judged or if people are going to make assumptions about you, then you might as well be your unique and genuine self, okay? And so let's talk a little bit about some examples of language that minimizes when it comes to women and how we assert ourselves or talk in the workplace. So the first one I want to talk about is I am statements, and the ones where you insert a negative word about yourself and you say that to other people. I am so silly. I am so stupid. I don't know what I was thinking. Right? All of these things is what you are telling people, other people, to think about you. Now, in order to clean that up, we have to work on how you think about you. So I'm again encourage you to go back to modules 1, 2, and 3 so that you can clean up your mind and the thoughts about you so that when you speak about you, you speak about yourself in a way that you want others to see you and to think about you as well. Right? And then another example is, this is a dumb question. And so if it's a dumb question, why ask it? Right? I know that may seem harsh, but that is what men especially, but other people are thinking. You've already told me it's a dumb question. So now you're the person or the woman that asks dumb questions. You see how that plays out? And again, I understand that the reason why we put some of these caveats or minimizers, disclaimers in our speech, and I am equally as guilty. I don't do this perfectly as well, right? But I try to be aware. A lot of it is programming, and so it takes time and effort to unprogram what we've been taught, especially if you were groomed to do these things or your upbringing said that this is what a proper woman does, right? So for me, my grandmother taught us that a proper woman is not loud. And so, like, I'll give you an example. Recording videos hurts my throat because I need to project. Or speaking. A lot of times people will be like, say it again because I can't hear you. And if you can hear me naturally talking, it is probably because I am upset. But short of that, I tend to not project. But if you want people to take you seriously, they have to be able to hear you, right? When people can't hear you, it creates confusion immediately. Okay. Another example is, if I could only make a very minor point. So there's so many words here that minimize or discount what you want to say. If I could only. A very minor point. Right? So again, why are you talking? If it's only a minor point, does it really need to be said? That's the question back to you. Or the question I want you to ask yourself. Right? Does it need to be said as a minor point? Can people live without it? Or we just want to are we nitpicking? Or is it really something of value? This could easily be, I'd like to add X, Y, or Z. Okay? And then another example, please don't mind me. If you use this one, I want you to really consider stop doing it. This is another place where we talk a lot about what people should be doing. I'll use networking as an example because in the mainstream career world, networking is what people say, although I'm not a fan of that either. But nonetheless, it's in the mainstream, right? But we don't talk about things that we do in our career that we need to stop doing in order to get to the goal. And this is one of them. Please don't mind me says to people that we should not recognize you at all. Like, you don't exist. Now, you signed up for this for this program because you do want to recognize. You do have a voice. You do know that you were meant for more. So why do you want them to not mind you? Mind your voice, mind your presence, mind you as a being, a human being, a person. Right? You can't fully take up space and get to where you're going when you don't want people to mind you. And what it says is you are invisible and I don't need to pay you any attention. Okay, one last one. Using we instead of I, especially when it comes to taking credit for work that you led or was responsible for. I want you to really think about, was it I or was it we? And if it was both, how can I say this statement where I show that I added value to this by doing that and the team did X? The team did this really great job and I was able to help them take it to another level by doing Y. Okay? Instead of we did it. Because if we did it, you didn't do anything. Right? And many of us get upset because our boss or people take credit and they don't always do it in the right manner. But if you want people to know you, a part of knowing you is knowing what you can produce, the results. And if you never say I, then you didn't do it, even if you did. So keep that in mind. Okay, for this lesson, I have created kind of a cheat sheet, if you will, or a list of other words, phrases, and statements that minimize. I want you to check that out. I've also created a cheat sheet for you that gives you other ideas or ways to discuss, such as creating win-win solutions for people instead of that. Ones that I like to use that I don't even think I documented was calling someone's name, right? So if I say, hey, Tom, people immediately look at me because I've mentioned Tom's name, and then I give my idea. Now people are focused on the conversation between Tom and I. You see what I mean? Right? So you want to be able to get people's attention before you speak and then make your statement. Asking questions is another way to be able to speak, get your thought across without minimizing it. Even saying, I have an idea, right? Not I may, not possibly, I have an idea. They may not like my idea, but I can still have it. I can still believe it works. That takes nothing away from anyone else. All right, that's all for language that minimizes.